for the first.
You can't get in. All right, hear ye, hear ye. This is a public meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. There will be this public meeting. Under authority of the State Wetlands Protection Act, Master General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. Persons who wish to do so are invited to watch the meeting on Raleigh Community Media TV in the event that live transmission proves infeasible. An audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made as soon, available on the town's website as soon as possible. And we take attendance.
Certainly. Wayne Banks, currently absent. Dan Shinnick.
Here.
Sam Strife.
Here.
Howard Therian.
Here.
Howard Vogel.
Here.
Ian Wurtzig.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum present.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll jump right into our agenda here. First administrative item is an interview with the candidate for conservation agent for the conservation agent's position, Frank Herrick. I presume that's you.
Yes.
Okay. Good
I
to meet
was
you.
wondering, I'm actually not him.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you taking the time.
Obviously, I'm excited to be here.
So, I don't know how many of us have met you before or previous
I met
interviews.
Howard and I met Rex. The
So-
rest of you, I don't believe I have.
So my name is, you can read our name,
Yeah.
but
Very helpful, by the way, thank you.
I'm the chairman. My team you'll be working with, if you're in a position. Tell us why you're interested in the.
I've been a Raleigh resident my entire life, so I actually would love to be involved with my my town here. I do have a background in environmental focused fields, so I have an associate's in environmental studies, and I have a undergrad in geography and sustainability. So I'm looking to apply this, and this seems like a quite beneficial way of applying it, a way that's much more public facing and public serving rather than like one private sector.
Okay, that's certainly very applicable, right?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Do you have any previous experience on a conservation commission? What's your exposure to things that the conservation commission might do?
So directly, I have some indirect exposure. I've not personally actually worked with in a conservation commission setting. I have some tangential components to it. Some like research stuff I've done with in relation to like PFAS water contamination in stormwater and wastewater. I have also similar economic research for research for climate change induced sea level rise.
Sure.
And this was not in depth, but there were like in class elements there were parts where we were shown like the concept of delineation, and like there was some field examples, but not really pursued it much farther past that.
Yeah. Okay. I guess so we're charged with enforcing the mandates of the Wetlands Protection Act and the, as you heard at the opening, the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw and the Stormwater Erosion Control Bylaw. Brent currently also serves as the town's stormwater guru, stormwater MS4 czar. Yeah. That's an additional kind of responsibility. Sounds like you have some background in stormwater management. You're familiar with the MS4 permit.
Yeah, lovely. Looking at not so much hands-on personally, but I do understand partially what it is, and
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. I don't think anybody. Well, I know some people do know exactly what it is, but the understanding changes every year. So, great, good. Well, okay. Awesome. How did your previous interviews?
Well, I was gonna ask, so, obviously there was some gaps between, some major gaps, right, between what's gonna be required of the job and your background. My question would be is, since we met, have you had a chance to do any investigation?
Actually, yes. So I have started reading through the bylaws specifically. We have the master one, the general one, but more specifically, I was reading through actually the stormwater and the conservation bylaws, looking through those. I am most of the way through it. I do it after work in the evenings, and I have also started pursuing the MACC training. So I've looked into what they have available. They have some trainings pretty consistently up through August, every few weeks to every few days, depending on the month, obviously. So I'm going to start pursuing some of those free resources they have, but also some of the more hands-on classes and instructor-led workshops.
Is there anything that really jumped out at you in that research that you were investigating?
Actually, a lot of it made sense. A lot of it seemed it seemed like not straightforward by any means, but there's a certain level of, so I can use the word common sense here, but intuitiveness to some of the stuff I'm understanding, like when it comes to some of your bylaws. It was kind of fascinating to know, but nothing like glaring popped out to me, or nothing that like surprised me too much.
Yeah. And on the Mac side, were there any courses that said, "Boy, I really want to take this ASAP"? Or
There was like a fundamentals 101, like specifically related to conservation commissions. So that actually was probably the first one to pursue, and that's coming up. When was it? I believe it was early June. I'll have to check the exact dates. There was like a dozen there in the next couple of months there.
Okay.
Very good.
I mean, Howard, you took some of those courses. Any
I did, yes. It's about 7, maybe 8 that just keep running. So once I'm trying to think, probably in the spring, I guess, I took the first one, but there's a group of them that you can take, and you just keep going with it. And if anything, now I'm more interested in what they didn't offer than what they did offer. This is I brought the Bible was actually this guy here, and then I have the other two that's the wetlands protection. That's a stormwater one from Raleigh. So, the thing, I don't know how long I've been doing this, 3 years maybe? I think so, yeah. Maybe. The thing that fascinated me about coming through the door and sitting down and seeing people come in, back then people actually showed up at a meeting instead of doing them online, was what the public didn't know and what Brent knew. And it fascinated me. Conservation is a whole new dictionary. Anything that you had learned before is out the window, and that's what I've been concentrating on since I've been on board, is that dictionary. And it's like you're trying not to get into trouble, but in many meetings it's staring you in the face, and it's because the general public doesn't have a clue about what's going on, and they fall into a trouble area, and we have those going on at the present time. I'd say that you do need to take the courses you have. You have to follow this guy around, and you have to you have to have an understanding that the earth is not flat. And it goes up and down, and when it goes up and down, it takes water and holds it, or it disperses it into another area. And when you go out into the field and look at where someone wants to put a house or a septic system, you've got to be keenly aware of how water flows, and the setting of flags, which is it's a very hard job that Brent goes through, is setting flags, and then if you go back 9 months later, because it's taken that long, for some ungodly reason, to get there, you want to find out if any of the flags are missing, because you want them all there.
Mhm.
And then another thing that probably happens, but I don't have anything, piece of evidence against it, is when a group of houses go in and the lines are drawn where you have you're 25 feet away from no cut, no disturb, or further back, we ask that posts go in the ground. I don't know today if they're all in there. And so there seems, I have a hard time myself imagining the responsibilities that realtors, for example, may or may not tell the next person that they sell a piece of property to.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that it's on record and that they find it and they in fact tell people. Otherwise, all the work that Brent's gone through has been it's been tempered with, or tamped with. So I kind of worry about that. About
I
what
think,
I have to say.
and, you know, we talked earlier, I mean, once again, I mean, you do run into a situation where we're running into citizens and or developers who are doing things and, you know, they're unaware of it. And so the idea that, how do you feel about the idea that you may have to be the person that is going out there to let these people know that they are doing something that is technically, would you call it illegal?
Yeah, I mean, if it violates a law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah.
So they're doing something very bad. Okay. I mean, what do you think about having to play that role?
I mean, it's definitely an important role. Obviously, they are undermining the work of the commission, and that role is important. It's not that much of a problem for me conceptually. I don't really. I see it as like informing people. I don't really see it as like a confrontation conceptually there.
So what would be your strategy on handling a situation?
I mean, well, obviously,
So I'm
Yeah.
here it is, okay?
Yeah.
Howie Vogel.
yeah.
It's just, you know, basically I got a piece of land and I've been out in my backyard and you know what? I really could use a little more grass back there and, you know, and extend it out a little bit. And so I've been cutting down some trees and throwing some dirt out and throwing some grass seed in. And, yeah, there was a post there, but I just knocked that thing down. It was just in the way. And so a neighbor has called you and told you that that activity is happening. So now you've come to me. What are you going to, how would you, just do it right now. How would you?
Address it.
Yeah, I'm the bad guy. I'm the citizen living down here
Yeah.
on Weathersfield
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah. Well, we've been informed that we've been informed by a neighbor. I should probably tell him, but we've been informed that some clearing of possibly protected wetland or forested areas have occurred here. So I just want to verify that either it hasn't occurred, or if it has, it actually hasn't impacted anything significant.
Well, I mean, you can see it. I've thrown some dirt out there. I don't think I've done, you know, there's still the frogs are croaking and
Well,
So
Yeah,
remember though,
Mhm.
he told you that this scenario
Mhm.
is in his rear yard.
so it becomes an issue
So
of
now you,
private property.
now you came onto his property
Mhm.
from the public roadway, correct?
Ideally, most likely yes.
Right. So, and you're going into his backyard to speak to him, what is actually the first thing you should be saying to him?
Asking for permission to go on the property and
And,
honestly,
and identifying yourself.
Yeah,
Permission
Yes,
to come aboard.
yes.
fair point, yes.
yeah, come on, sure, you can be back. Come on and take a look. I think you might like what you see.
Wonderful work did back here. Obviously, you can tell you've done some work in the backyard.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of doing that myself. Yeah, so so it looks really nice back here, but I've actually noticed that these tree lines seem to have changed since last time I've seen this, last time I've surveyed this area. So what have you done back here? Can you describe what you've done back here?
Yeah, just knocked down a few trees and threw in a little bit of dirt, and I got some grass growing, and I know it's wet. In fact, the farther back you go, the wetter it gets, so I'm just claiming what I think I can, I don't want to get way in there, there's a lot of bugs and stuff, but I got it back far enough where I like it. And,
So I guess then, have you checked with anyone about whether that's an area that's either protected by the town here, or have you checked that that's
I mean, I
an
bought
area of
this
concern?
property 3 years ago, nobody told, the realtor, nobody said anything about it. They just said,
So, while you may be a property that you have and you've been informed of it, the wetland areas do have a certain distance you cannot go within, and I am now concerned that you have kind of breached that barrier. So now you're starting to step upon this protected areas.
okay, so I guess you're gonna tell me I'm gonna have to do something.
So at this point, I'm gonna say we probably have to actually speak with the commission and probably have to do something a little bit more further here, because I have to probably do like an actual official like wetland delineation, make sure you're not actually encroaching upon these areas, because this represents now a risk to our conservation efforts, with risk to our water conservation, water protection efforts. Not encroaching, not blaming, and but it's a concern we now have to manage.
No,
That's pretty good. I mean, from right off the cuff, you hit a couple of things. I think, without any experience being a conservation agent, you mentioned the bringing this before the commission. That's exactly what should happen. And the next thing, you'll learn all this stuff like on the job. I'm sure, like whether you're gonna have resources that you will not go into a situation unarmed. You have I know that Brent has resources that he has available to him. To research the what the available aerials will have for that particular property, right? Like, yes, that does look like it was forested at one time, and now it's not. So what happened there, right? So you won't go in without evidence to some effect. But again, all that stuff's kind of stuff that is on the job. So yeah, I don't have any problem with that kind of response. I mean, that seems pretty good for. On the spot, off the cuff, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Howie gave you a little bit of clue when he said he got that post that was in his way.
Yeah.
Pulled that
Yeah.
out of there. So,
The operative
so normally
word,
there's more than one post. So there might be
the
some
operative
other
word
stuff.
is water, and you mentioned it. And that's what we are. And whether, it's stormwater or water that's vegetated, and that's what we're trying to protect. And the other thing that we have available, and you probably run along as you run through this, it'll happen. We have people who are in the business of helping a homeowner who's just made a mess of his backyard, and it's got to come back to what is close to normal. Right.
Yep, we got that going on tonight.
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
So, and maybe Brent, you might want to, if you look at a situation like that, what would be the top 3 things that you start thinking about when, you get that call from that neighbor, that just comes in across the transom, right? What are the first 3 things that pop in mind that you're going to think about? in trying to deal
Well,
with
the first thing, which is what we were talking about here, was a visit to provide verification. In fact, I had a phone call today.
Matter of fact.
Matter of fact, yeah. A phone call today where all I got was, oh, you must be concerned about what's going on at such and such Hillside Street. And I said, well, we're on the phone and I can't see what you're referring to. Could you explain to me what my concerns might be or what's concerning? Click.
Yeah, that was it?
He hung up on me.
Oh, really? Wow.
I didn't even ask him his name. I was just sort of like, okay, he gave me the address. That's usually half the battle, is getting the address. And then it's like, well, what do you see that makes you think it would be concerning to the Conservation Commission?
Yeah.
So,
Trying to follow up now, like, okay, now I have to go check that out now.
Well,
Yeah, that
interesting,
happens too.
another thing too, right, it's like, and this is very important. We're a regulatory board, we're meant to enforce the law, but we are not some citizens' personal cudgel against their neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
So you gotta be aware of that too, right? Like,
the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
We have the 5 stages of reaction to being told you're out of non-compliance.
Mhm.
So-and-so did it too. How come you aren't going and talking to them? You know, why are you coming after me? I'm a good citizen. I pay my taxes. The third one, well, you know, I guess it was all right for, you know, the town to go do it. How come, you know, you're coming and bothering me about it? Yeah, you get to hear a whole litany of things, and I'm making a little fun of it, and maybe I shouldn't on the record, but it's amazing how predictable sometimes the reactions are, and then they get mad at you.
Of course.
So like I said, the neighbor did it also. How come you aren't talking to them? Why are you going after me? I'm a good guy. Yeah, and then the final thing is getting mad at you because you're telling them they're doing something wrong. So.
Yeah, I think the point of that discussion there is that, you know, when you're in a public facing role, whether it's voluntary, as we are, or whether it's a paid position, and yeah, that's even just everywhere in life, but more so in those instances, you're not gonna get along with everybody, and you know, you got to be able to deal with that. You got to have a thick skin. You have to be able to understand that you have a job to do, to enforce a law, to uphold the regulations, and that everybody is beholden to them. So don't be surprised if, frankly, you make some enemies. You know,
I mean, I'm telling people what they can't do with their own property. It's gonna
that's going to rub a
it's
lot of
gonna
people
rub
the wrong way.
That's an expectation.
You know, with the understanding too, you know, that like everybody has a right to do, you know, to gain as much out of their own property as they have limits to do so.
Well, and I would say, in my experience, I would say that 70 to 80% of the time, people are going to be thankful.
Gonna be what?
Thankful for what we've worked with them. At least that's what I've seen, is that they walk away, I would say 70, 80% of the time feeling like, guess what? You know, that, you know, the commission worked with them, helped them to understand what they could do, couldn't do, or if they'd done something wrong, how they can get out of it, and try to work with them. You know, when people are, you know, they're doing new septic systems, they're buying a house, they're developing something, and they want the puck to keep going down the ice, right? And
That's right.
you know, so if we can assist them in helping them, or if it appears like we're working with them to try to get that puck down the ice, I think they're very appreciative. And I think most people in my history, they walk out of this room or they get off the Zoom meeting, feeling like, their time was well spent, and they thank us a lot. And thank you for, how many times? I hear thank you a lot more than I hear, put effigy of Howie Driscoll.
Other
Yeah.
questionable choice of words.
Yeah, it happens, but I'm just saying, I think it's more positive than, but you get these, and you're gonna have to deal with them, that's the situation. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna add to what Howie was saying, was that the role of the commissioner, of the agent, is often educational as much as anything. So what we find is people don't understand what wetlands are, and they don't understand that piece of land behind them or around them is a wetland. And so you really have to be very diplomatic, but really a teacher in explaining wetland ecology to them and why this law is there, and why it's extremely important that we follow the law. But as Howie was saying, it's rare that we find somebody for not following the law. I think we do almost everything we can not to find somebody, but when they do get fined, it's not good. It's a bad situation.
Yeah.
So it feels like the intention is first to teach and hopefully
Teach us
guide them in the right
first.
direction, and
Yeah.
if they then have barriers of sorts, then it ends up being you have to
Yeah.
do a
And it's a
different way
slow
of going.
process too. It's not fast. It's
The stick comes out.
yeah. But the stick is still slow to come out. It still takes a while. But if they're really intransigent about fixing the problem or being difficult, the stick does come out. But only rarely.
It's like last case scenario. It's not what you want to do, ideally.
We definitely don't want to do that.
So, what do you do now?
Currently, so right now I'm working over for the city of Beverly. I am a GIS analyst there, working in the engineering department. Technically, actually hired by DPW, but doing work for the engineering department. Kind of a weird way I was hired there, but yeah. So I'm helping the city with their GIS updating stuff like that. We've had some data that was like 20 years out of date, so I've been kind of bringing them alongside that. Field work over there obviously is a part of that too. So we have to go out and collect locations on a regular basis. We do projects with the high school, so we actually get quite often get like interns and stuff over there for like either like breaks, or now at this point we're hitting towards the end of the school year now. We're starting to get some of them coming in, so we have 2 at the moment interns helping us with projects. Last summer we had 4, I
Do
believe.
you oversee those folks?
Yes, at least in part. So so last year we had 4 of them over the summer, and so we had goals for them obviously, and we thought, oh, we'll give them a project. We thought this would take a couple weeks. They did it in 3 hours. Very good, but so it ended up being we have to put a line of dominoes ahead of them constantly every single day for like 3 months.
Right.
So the projects we were building I was the one building those dominoes. So that was the part of the project I was doing there, is we were trying to give them field work to do.
Okay.
Well, how do you feel about that you have been working on a master's from Salem State,
Mhm.
which is a great program. I had several students who went through that program and loved it. But this job is not a GIS position. So you've spent a lot of your time doing GIS. It is a job that your tech skills will be very useful, but it has a flip side that's something you really haven't done before.
So for me, GIS was an end to a means here. So pure environmental studies is not something you can use. You usually need to use it in an application. So GIS is more of an application for where I can then use my environmental background. So that was kind of the reason why I pursued that way, because you very easy to just become like a preachy environmental person, but no one likes and that no one wants to do anything with. So this is a way to actually take that and do something productive with it. So this is a tool to be productive in this. So this also acts as a way to be productive. This job is a way to be productive in that my experience. So GS was an ends to a mean for being like useful and being environmentally active.
And you mentioned what you went to, so you might want to mention, you went to Clarkson initially?
Yeah, I went to there initially, so that was right out of high school.
And you, how many years you were there?
I did 3 years there.
And you initially, I remember you told me you were gonna be an aeronautical? But
Yes.
You decided that,
So
you weren't gonna be you decided not to be a rocket scientist, I guess?
pretty simply, yes. So I initially wanted to be an aerospace engineer. And that's a very STEM-heavy program. I like the S, T, and E in STEM. The math, it's kind of was a weak point there. So that's kind of what ended up, the high-level math degrees kind of slowed me down there. So then I pivoted using the scientific portion of that. So I quite enjoyed that. I already did environmental stuff in high school, so we did
What high school did you go to?
St. John's.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we for junior year, because actually I was the only junior in this random environmental senior class. It was I managed to sneak in right at the end, right before the semester started. But so I was one of the last one left, so they needed to just do a project, and so I decided to do research on our food waste. So that was and I found actually we had a 60% food waste problem. So 60% of our trash by weight was pure compostable food. So actually the school started a composting program the following semester as a result.
And then, after you got out of the aeronautics, still at Clarkson, what did you end up studying then?
So then I did do a semester there at Clarkson. The last at the end there was environmental health science, which was kind of more in the range of like OSHA compliant stuff, which would still some of the health components to the side, but not quite still what I wanted.
Yeah.
I found that I just was kind of trying to bridge the gap between them, and that was still too much like lab and math focused for my taste. So then at that point I came home, did a reset, and I just decided to go to Salem State because it's closer. It's on a 6-hour drive away, and it's a state school. I can stay home, and actually it's a pretty good school. My grandfather was a teacher there. My mother went there. My aunt went there. My whole family went there too. So like I have quite a good deal
What's
of
your grandfather's name?
Frank Quimby. So he was a professor over there. He did I always call it the Photoshop class. It's not Photoshop. It's design. So he was a professor over there for a while until when did he retire? I'm not sure when he retired. Admittedly, it's been a little bit, but yeah.
All right, cool.
Who did you work with in Salem State? Did you have classes under Dr. Young? And
Actually, yeah. So that was so one of the research I did the sea level rise research actually was under him. So he was using some data from blanking on the government
NOAA
and stuff. But
Corps of Engineers data, some of it.
believe so. It was a few years ago, and actually he since retired. Unfortunately,
Oh,
he recently retired. So it's a little sad to see him go. But yeah, no. So Young actually, he's very nice. He actually kind of
he's a great guy.
he kind of took me under the wing there a little bit because I was like, oh, actually, I've got a project I'm working over the summer, and I need some help doing it for like the whole I don't know, like 15, 20 cities need their coastlines mapped and stuffed out. So it's nice. Actually, it was a lot of fun. Good application. I like good applied method of that, especially considering at that point in time, MassGIS was going through a transition. So they initially used, was it Oliver? It was their
That's the old one.
yeah. So they transitioned away from that, but in the middle of that, they had problems with data correctness and quality control. So we were pulling stuff from there, we kept having issues with it. So I literally contacted them and gave you lists. So this whole list of stuff I keep pulling keeps having errors, and so I actually ended up working with them to kind of fix that a little bit, kind of informing them of their their erroneous data, which was it was a fun experience speaking with them on that.
Okay. Good. So Sam, you have any questions?
No, I don't think I right now.
Good. Well, anybody else?
Well, I got one more. So, you know, if we would give you this job, what are the first three things you're gonna do?
Well, absolutely pursue the training components. So that's step one for me, without question. Just getting informed and caught up to this as fast as I possibly can be quite useful. Working with Brent is also a big factor here because he acts as a source of like a primary source of knowledge here, especially with the town of Raleigh specifically, because each town or city will be unique and different in their own ways. So actually working alongside Brent will be a huge factor there as well too. And I honestly just getting in the fieldwork component of it. So you can only learn so much from a distance. There's a certain point you gotta just go out there and do it and learn, if at worst case trial by fire, which is not ideal obviously, but I've always said the hands-on is way more impactful than like purely from a distance there too.
And after all this, are you still interested?
It's very fascinating still. I like the concept of supporting Rowley here. And it still applies to what I know and what I enjoy.
I'd add something to what Brent had said, that when you go onto a piece of property, that you're data rich when you go on there, and you've already looked at that piece of property, know what it should have on it, and when you have that discussion with them, they know what you know.
Go in well informed.
Very
Huh?
well.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And being a mapping person, you'll do that anyway.
Yes. So I've always meant that data-driven decisions are way more important than working purely off of instinct or.
Yeah, I guess, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, actually, I got a couple. So we've gone through a couple examples of this, but what would be like an average day to day, like on a random Tuesday for me? What would be like a regular like daily workflow? Is that a kind of curiosity? I know
That's a
we've
question
talked
for
some
Brent,
examples
but-
of that. Like we talked about like a rough example, of, like that kind of contact would be, but like a random Tuesday. If I was to walk up to you on a random day, what would an average day be like?
Probably don't want to pick the day of the meeting. Go ahead.
You
Oh, fair point. Yes.
That's a little bit.
Okay.
You want something a little more random.
Sorry, non-meeting day. Sorry. That's
Non-meeting day. Oh, well, the ball is always in the air because you've always had inquiries. So, you've probably seen our meeting schedule. Our meeting schedule has a requested day of submittals. So that is a day all in itself where you have to react to applications coming in. So with an application coming in, you've got to look at it in terms of completeness. You have to look at it in terms of whether the type of application is appropriate for the activity that's being proposed. On a non-submittal day, you're trying to work in various inquiries that you get. You can expect to get, once a week, you'll get an inquiry from a realtor or someone interested in a piece of property who wants to know anything you can tell them about that property. In other words, whether it's been the subject of past permitting, has wetland resource areas on it. The second part to that question is if it hasn't been developed, they'll try to get you to tell them what they can build on it, which is the wrong question for the conservation agent to be handling, because the conservation agent should just say, well, there may or may not be regulated wetland resource areas, and depending on what you want to do, you may have to file the appropriate application, but you need to contact the building inspector's office to find out what the zoning will allow. Okay, so there's that. That's kind of easy. Then we'll get the day like today with the phone call, you should be concerned about blah, blah, Hillside Street, and then they hang up on you because you ask them for specifics and they really don't want to spill the beans. So then you have to figure out what you do with that. So the first thing you do is talk about data-driven decisions is you look in the computer to see what you have a record of, which we have all of our records arranged by street address, so we can look up street address and see if there's been any past permitting that we have. So what else happens on the day? So you have a cycle where you have to prepare the payroll for submittal and let the commission know about that. You have a cycle alternating from that when you have to do vendor bills to pay the bills, because the town has a cycle for doing that. Then you look to see what your backlog is of decisions the commission has made and the permit that you haven't written, and try to get some time uninterrupted to do that. You have the call from the person who has a permit for developing a property, who has just put in their erosion control and wants to have you come out for the pre-activity meeting, which involves inspecting the erosion control, verifying that they've got a spill containment kit on site, and dealing with any other issues in regards to that. Have they put in the entrance exit pad for the site? Have they already started the tree cutting?
Brent, will you leave, like, right now, the office hours are from what, 9 to?
9 to 12:30, because other departments are open. So I do public office hours in the morning because other town departments and offices are open.
Mhm.
So that makes it more convenient for citizens who have to go visit.
Would you ever leave before that to be able to go do a site visit? Or do
Oh,
you-
yeah, sometimes I do, yeah, if they're, yeah.
But a lot of your site visits are after that.
I
12.
try to do them 1 to 4 in the
What
afternoon.
your afternoon would look like versus your morning.
Well, this also has to do with our secretary administrative help. She comes in at 9 in the morning and works till 1 o'clock. And so she's there to help answer the phone, to help me do all the paperwork that needs to be done. So there's the component of supervising my administrative person in the office. Then there's the other unexpected things or expected things of, there's regulations proposed by DEP, and do you want to comment on that? You check with the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners to see if they're working on comments that you want to sign on to or mimic. Oh gosh, what else?
I mean, does that give you a?
Yeah.
Minutes and agenda.
Yeah, I don't need an absolute list of every single thing, but yes, that's quite informative, thank you. I quite like the, always something, there's always something to wrangle in.
Well, I
at any
think the
given point.
key is it's varied.
Mhm.
So you're not pulling the lever to stamp out widget A
Yep.
every 15 seconds or whatever the production schedule is.
Yep.
And so you can always be faced by something new. Or there was the student from Triton who contacted me 6 days before Arbor Day, who wanted to do an Arbor Day project as part of their community service project, but couldn't tell me what trees and where they were going to plant them, and didn't even seem to know about the Arbor Day Foundation. So, who I never heard from again after I responded to them and asked them those questions.
It's a guy called him Hillside.
It's a student out here planting trees.
Yeah.
So
Any
yeah,
other questions? or-
so varied is the rule of the day.
I guess for the sake of like time schedule component here, so let's say you did decide to actually end up hiring me, what would the time frame be for me to kind of plan ahead, just for like providing like 2 week notice my current job and stuff like that, just so I can kind of coordinate my time a little bit?
Making that decision?
Yeah.
When are we expected to make a decision?
Yeah.
On, soon? I mean, this isn't, we'll have a discussion here, make a recommendation, and the recommendation will hear about it shortly thereafter.
Okay. So, good to know.
When could you start?
So I do want to give my current job a 2-week notice. We're kind of in the middle of the week now, so it's a tiny bit awkward. So absolute like worst case latest would be, I think beginning of
Right,
next
end of
month.
May. It would be
We'd say end of
after,
May.
after Memorial Day.
Yeah,
So
basically.
end of May.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be a
Okay.
worst case. That's what worst case would look like, that very 1st of June. And that falls on roughly whatever that first Monday is.
Yeah.
That's the worst case. Like 2.5 weeks.
That's
But was it over Memorial Day? That's perfectly fine too. That all lines up pretty well too.
All right, great. If there are no other questions, Frank, Frank, you have no other questions for us?
Well, I believe you've answered my questions. Been very informative.
Great, no, thank you. We appreciate you coming in. This has been helpful for me and for us. So, yeah, thank you very much. And we will have a discussion here and let you know soon kind of what our next steps are.
Awesome.
Okay?
Yep.
So, again, thank you for coming in.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All good?
Sure good. We'll just join, we'll have a discussion.
Yeah, we'll table any discussion. Let's jump into the agenda. Like, we're just gonna skip over the rest of the administrative stuff and jump right to 7:45. And we'll come back to all the other rest of the administrative stuff. Right, so legal notice of the Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw. A public meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 7:45 PM to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Kenneth and Jean, is that Tanch? Tanch. For proposed soil evaluations and installation of a replacement sewage disposal system possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone bordering vegetated wetlands and to an intermittent stream at 252 Weathersfield Street, map 23, parcel 19, lot 1 in Raleigh, Massachusetts. The go-to remote meeting link will be posted on the town website in accordance with the, in advance of the meeting for that calendar date. Bill?
All right, good evening, Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management. This started out as being a simple project, typical, the house is for sale, needs a repair septic system. And walking on site right away, we discovered a violation, so we'll talk about that later this evening. But for the first part about the project, it needs soil testing. And then the usual protocol has been to issue a negative determination, and that would include any future septic system design so long as it was designed and installed in the area that we've designated for the soil testing. In this case, the soil testing would be right in the front yard. Here's sort of a Google Earth aerial view. The green line on the plan is the approximate location of wetlands. Classic, backyard goes right up to the edge of the wetlands, and then there's red maple swamp, skunk cabbage. There's an intermittent stream that flows through that wetland there. It does wrap up a little bit around the driveway on the left side of the home before it turns away. So there will be a 100-foot buffer zone arcing off of this portion of the wetlands that's going to have the most effect on the testing area. That would probably take about 2/3 of the front yard, but clearly the soil testing is going to end up being in the buffer zone, and we're pretty certain that the repair septic system will also be in that buffer zone. So we're here looking for a negative determination to go ahead and conduct soil testing, and then also to install the new system when designed, subject to any permits attached to the negative determination.
The yellow line is the erosion control? Is that
That's correct. Yep, Brent and I walked it. We came to an agreement. That's not the latest and greatest, though.
Yeah, we're gonna adjust that a little bit
Yeah.
because it turns out that equipment access is really along the frontage from Weathersfield Street. There's a significant landscape and fieldstone wall that's along the driveway. So that will have erosion control installed above that. But the front there, that line is really going to be,
Yeah, we're gonna eliminate this section here.
yeah. And I think if I remember correctly, the slope was also from the street down to the front yard. So it's
Little bit.
questionable as to whether erosion control along the front there would do an awful lot of productive blocking of sediment flow, so.
Whereabouts on Weathersfield Street?
Yeah, I'm trying to get for the orientation.
This is,
Where's north?
right,
Is north going down?
This is right across from where Bennett Hill Road comes in.
Okay.
So-
Directly opposite from Bennett.
So north is actually gonna be kind of down.
Down, that's what I thought, I was kind of, my head was screwed up.
And I did send a revised plan of this, Brent. So it's somewhere. I sent that to you. I fixed it that day and sent it to you.
Yeah, it just didn't make it into the folder.
No worries.
Tuesday.
So,
Do it Tuesday.
so Brent, what were your observations on
So
the,
actually,
on site.
hold on.
It's Bennett Hill coming in.
Have to be careful when I click on it because things change.
It's as you're driving from west to east.
Yeah, it's got, yeah.
You have to kind of think about
You gotta
driving.
kind
off
of
of Route
think
one.
about
That's
Yeah.
Bennett Hill up in the corner.
There you go, yeah, that's a good.
So here's the front yard, and actually you can
Yes.
see Bennett Hill in the
Now you're-
upper left there, coming in.
Now I'm oriented.
And you can see there's just a very low, single boulder stone wall along the front. This is a photo directly opposite direction.
Yeah.
And you can see the fieldstone landscaping wall that's along the driveway. So that just is, that wouldn't survive any equipment going over it. And also it'd be more effective to put the erosion control in front of that, in front of the lamp post and in front of the garden beds there, because that is the down gradient, predominant slope of that front yard. And this is just a view from the side, so this was probably a northerly view looking southeast type of area, so and that's the area where the soil evaluations would take place and where the system would be installed.
Right, so it's all existing lawn and.
All existing lawn, previously altered,
I'll just,
so.
So I presume, I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's words in your recommendation.
Pardon me.
But, well, I won't do it then. What is your recommendation?
Well, the issuance of a determination, negative option number 3 with a list, pretty standard conditions, being able to enter onto the site to check compliance, having spill containment kit available, putting erosion control in. And I'll probably have to actually verbally describe, or I'll have to find your revised sketch and see if, in reference to the sketch. Doing that, performing the soil testing, and then later on coming back to the commission, submitting a Board of Health approved and Title V compliant plan, and then checking to see if installed erosion controls are still appropriate for how the system is being configured and put in the front yard, and then conditions requiring vegetative cover of the stable, the disturbed area, and verification of the establishment of that vegetative cover prior to authorizing the erosion control to be removed.
Just, Bill, real quick, assuming successful perk tests, what sort of timeline do you anticipate for the full installation of the septic system?
These usually happen fairly quickly in sequence, so soil testing is gonna happen, I'd say, in the next couple of weeks. Design follows, say, 2 to 3 weeks after that. And then the home is under contract, so they wanna roll right in. So I would say this summer, the system will go in.
Yeah, June or July is
Yeah.
kind of how I think the cycle's been going in terms of when I've seen the approved plans and stuff, so.
So this summer.
Okay, yep. Any questions, members of the commission?
No.
Any questions, members of the public gathering? Hearing none, then, the recommendation is to issue a negative determination, option number 3, with conditions, as discussed, standard conditions, ones with which
The
I'm sure
usual
you
conditions.
You are familiar.
Mhm.
So, yeah, let's have a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion again.
Second.
Okay, so, Ian makes the motion, Howard Tarian seconds.
All right, hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ann,
Ian, Howard Tarian seconds.
thank you.
And, all in favor?
Aye.
Wow, that's a quick way to get that one.
It was lovely.
Voice unanimous.
All right, sorry for holding you up there.
Mr. Herrick could have benefited from watching a few hearings, because there's a
Yeah.
typical day.
You're right.
No.
Okay, now on to second agenda item. The moment here, that's Meeting House Road, right?
Correct.
Stuff legal.
All right, this is a legal notice of Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw. A remote public meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 8 p.m. to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Sarah Windeman for proposed soil evaluations, possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone to isolated vegetated wetlands and isolated land subject to flooding at 39 Meeting House Road, map 6, parcel 28 in Raleigh, Massachusetts.
All right, so again, Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management. And this is a project with a little twist. This is for soil testing, but this is an undeveloped lot. So, and the other component is I would like the resource areas affecting the property also confirmed in this determination. So, this is a vacant lot coming off of Leslie Road, little gravel driveway that leads down to the subject property there. And really, the lots were staked, and really the action is off-site here. This is the lowest area of the topography here. Slopes down, there's a house up here. The land slopes down in this direction, the road's higher, this road's higher, so this is a depression in here. I have never seen it have water in it, but topographically it is lower. And there is hydric soil in that depression, and there is wetland vegetation. But it does not border on any stream or pond. It's very easy to see. Brent and I again walked out here, and you can walk up to this property corner, which was staked. The driveway accessing this home is really right about through here. So it's very clear to see the limits of this depression, and it clearly does not border on anything. This is an isolated vegetated wetland. It would be locally protected under your bylaw. And that's one of the things I want to have memorialized with this negative determination. Secondly, anytime we get, so we know we have a local jurisdiction. We wanted to make sure that we don't have any state jurisdiction. The only possible other resource area it could have been is an isolated land subject to flooding, a state-regulated isolated land subject to flooding. But in order to do that, it would have to be able to hold 1/4 acre foot of surface water, assuming no infiltration. So we had the engineers do that calculation. You model the watershed, and you run 7 inches of rain into that watershed, assume no infiltration. And the resultant theoretical accumulation of water in a 100-year event would be less than a 1/10 acre foot. So we're looking for 0.25 acre feet of water. We got 0.06 acre feet. So Very minimal accumulation. As I said, I visited the property 2 times, both this spring. I've never seen water accumulate in it. So we're asking for a determination that this is not a state-regulated, isolated land subject to flooding. And then, of course, we'd also like to do soil testing within the buffer zone to that isolated vegetated wetland. So we're looking for those 3 things: be able to do the soil testing, verify the limits of the isolated vegetated wetland that occur on site, and also determine not a isolated land subject to flooding.
Thank you. Very concise. I love it. Brent, do you have observations you want to share?
Well, I unfortunately didn't put the pictures together. It was on site, and actually I didn't have to even enter the abutting property or go up their driveway, which is over kind of where the north arrow is over. The driveway sort of partially responsible probably for causing that not to drain in the direction that it seems to be. That peak going in. So I can confirm that as it is depicted on the plans, of course I don't have the ability to do the same calculations, but I trust that the calculations were done appropriately
Okay.
And they're included in the submittal.
in the submittal. Yeah, so that was all documented. I'm sorry I don't have the pictures for you. This site's pretty open. It's got that abandoned foundation that is mostly on this parcel, but has a slight corner of it on the other. It's got great ventilation, but other than that, isn't much to speak of. Has no walls, no roof, no structural component except the concrete of the old foundation. And the site, you can see the contours. The site really is pitching towards Meeting House Road. So in my estimation, the conditions for doing the soil evaluations, which there is no installed system component at this time for this particular application. So they would be the typical conditions of just having the erosion control sock available on site in case they were unable to accomplish backfilling of the test pits within the same day, and then mulching with a hay or straw mulch over the disturbed soil to just duplicate the leaf litter that's technically out there. It was a fairly open, mostly mature trees with just scattered saplings and not much of a shrub component to the understory, and no real herbaceous vegetation on the ground to speak of.
So Bill mentioned 3 things that he's seeking: the confirmation of the limits of the isolated vegetated wetland, the confirmation that it is not a state-regulated resource area, and the negative determination for the soil testing, right? So
I concur with those, but I have one thing that I want to ask to be put on this plan because it is not there, and that is the 100-foot buffer zone line of the isolated.
Sitting here and realizing, how did I miss that?
Go ahead, you can tell us.
Sitting here looking at the plan going, how did I miss the buffer zone line?
Yeah, so just that revision to the plan
revision to the plan.
would be adequate. And the plan, and at this point in time, I would add in the note there that it's a local isolated vegetated wetland.
Yep.
I would add that instead of just the depression is too small for state regulated. But let's say that we've confirmed that it is a locally jurisdictional isolated vegetated wetland.
Questions?
I have a question. It's probably for Brent. foundation down in the bottom corner,
Yep,
is that a stone foundation or
no,
wood?
my
cement?
recollection, it was poured concrete.
Did it look like anything had ever been built on it?
Oh, God.
All right, you know what, I should get the pictures, shouldn't I? I'm sorry, I normally do
I'm
this.
not trying to get that detail.
Well, actually, it might not be that hard. If I-
There were no construction debris or anything that had fallen in, so if anything was built on it, it was cleaned up.
What do you mean importing? What are you doing? Stop this.
Is it a fortified hunting stand?
It'd be a ground blind.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
So,
Voila,
There it is.
there it is.
Look at that. So it's been there a while.
Yeah, everything's growing.
Things are a tree.
Yep,
20, 50 years.
lots of nice saplings and stuff in there.
So do you contemplate that that would have to be removed?
Yeah, they'll remove that.
Okay. Fine.
But they're also gonna
Partially off.
have to ask the abutter if they can remove that small
That
portion that
corner.
sticks over into the abutting
Yeah.
parcel. But that's a detail for them to work out.
And that's beyond the scope of this.
Yeah, there's
Oh, yeah.
there's no activity other than the soil evaluations being proposed.
It looks like a native raised bed.
Right? If they save it, they can do their vegetables in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so, other questions? Questions? From the public? Anyone? Public?
Yeah.
All right, so, hearing none, the, recommendation before us is, I believe, a negative determination. And the options.
And the determination, the resource area determination.
And the resource area determinations as discussed.
Positive A, or something like that.
I'll have to look at the form, but yeah, we're in agreement about what it should state.
Right.
And just off the top of my head, I'm not sure, 2A, 2B, whatever.
Nor
Needs
am
to be
I. It
checked
used to be
off.
simple, and now there's like 6 choices.
Yeah. Forms.
Make it complicated.
Okay, so we'll have a motion then for the negative determination and the positive determination option to be discovered.
So moved, Sam.
You may I have a second.
I'll second.
So Sam makes the motion and Ann seconds,
Mhm.
and all in favor? Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just hang for the last part of the meeting.
Well, we may as well jump to that.
Yeah, well, since you've been so patient.
I appreciate that.
This is our status reports, permits and enforcements. Enforcement order at 252 Weathersfield Street, correct? That's the one.
Yes.
Okay. Map 23, parcel 19, lot 1, Kenneth Tanch. Cutting and clearing, altering, grading of earth filling and depositing of man-made debris and dimension lumber, approximately 1,000 square feet in bordering vegetated wetlands, BVW 310 CMR 1055. Possible alteration of an intermittent stream bank, 310 CMR 1054, by bridging with lumber and obstructing stream flow approximately 16 linear feet.
Oh, that's what the problem is. Pictures were in the wrong folder. Oh, that didn't help.
Oh, yeah. 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 Yep.
Okay, so trees have been cut and dropped into the wetlands along the rear boundary line of the property. Let's see, what else we got here? So that's the front. Here's the rear. Here's more cut logs or whatever deposited in the area. So let's do this. That's kind of a wider angled view from over towards the end of the driveway, looking in a direction towards Wild Pasture Lane. Yeah. Here's an area that had been subject to grading. They'd scraped topsoil and other debris with the pile of branches and stuff. You see the large tree trunk to the left had sheared off, had broken, fallen. That's apparently where a lot of the cut logs apparently initiated from. Then this is a closer up of that same scraped debris. So there's fill, there's soil, there's branches in there. And then the intermittent stream in the back there's these beams put together, 3 beams fastened to each other. There on the left-hand side, that's an old footbridge that actually had like 2 stringers with boards across it as foot passage. Apparently, these larger beams fastened together were used for ATV to be driven across. Now, what I can't explain, though, is why there's a whole series of them, multiples of them, washed down in the stream and left there. So there's approximately 6 of these triple beams fastened together. And all of it needs to be removed because it's all obstructing flow and causing problems with stream flow, destabilizing the banks, just not a good stable environment. And I guess there was getting rid of maybe his charcoal and burn stuff from back patio fires or grilling or whatever. Then some more kind of construction debris and other stuff. So
who did this?
the homeowner apparently.
Not the present homeowner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't passed hands yet. So
it's in process of
Mr.
being sold.
Taunch or whatever is present owner and apparently was engaged in various activities in the rear there, which have resulted in a lot of.
So he probably was a
I'm sure it's unintentional on some cases, but again, you couldn't really understand the scraping and why.
He tried to do a 4-wheel. Maybe they were just doing ATV.
No, but
It looked like a cleanup, an effort like that. Because
some of this looks like he may have had a Kubota tractor with a front blade and was just pushing the stuff. So I mean, ultimately the result is you've got this rather deliberate or inadvertent wetlands filling involved by the scraping of topsoil and other sediments into the wetlands. So immediately erosion control has got to be put in place, and then Bill's been working on restoration plan. I don't know, has the erosion control been deployed yet?
Has not been deployed yet. My status is I've just got under contract with the owner for this additional work. And I did prepare a intend to comply letter and had that signed and sent that to the commission. I just got the first draft of the survey, so we have been moving along. And I hopefully for your next meeting, I will have a restoration plan. Fortunately, the things that you saw there are easily rectified. So it went in, so we can easily take it back out. And I'll probably just, sprinkle the area with some New England wet mix. And there were no trees cut.
That's what I was just gonna say. It doesn't look like, those ones that.
No, it looked like they were storm damaged trees that had been toppled and
Yeah,
they
and cut.
cut them up and then were
So you
moving them around.
just leave those?
Well,
I mean,
Unfortunately, though, the message that cut tree trunks manipulated around and deposited as fill do not send you the same message as a tree falling over naturally and you just seeing it sectioned and left in place.
this has been moved.
Yeah, well, like I said, you could see all these columns or whatever, and they weren't in a contiguous segment from where the tree actually fell, so they really should be removed to the extent that the removal is right on the edge where there's already been alteration and not necessarily trying to drive out into the soft wetland soil and pull a bunch of stuff back, except for those planks.
Yeah,
Those
get
planks
those out.
do need to come out of there because they're obstructing stream flow.
So I understood on the site that the first pictures we looked at with the large tree that sheared off, we were gonna piece that up, drop it and leave it in the wetlands, but the pile and the debris, we were gonna pull that stuff out.
Leave the
Are we on the same page?
Well, so this picture right here is illustrative of the cut sections of tree trunk that I believe need to come out. Now, the one in the middle of the picture that seems to be longitudinally still in alignment, that can be left because that extends out into the wetlands. But the stuff that's been just put right on the edge here and obviously has been repositioned, my feeling is that should come out. And you see a little bit of it
That's what I
right
recall.
there. I mean,
The whole edge, and it's not very long either. It took me 6 flags to mark the wetlands across the back. And it's not very long, but the whole edge needs to get cleaned up. There's just been,
it's a debris field.
yep,
It's a longitudinal debris field right on that edge of where the wetlands intersects the fill that was put in back there for the rear yard, which is historic. And we're not talking about restoring that. We're just talking about getting this new stuff, the non-historic
Yep.
stuff out. So I'm requesting that the commission confirm and ratify an enforcement order for the following: cutting and clearing (parentheses altering), grading of earth, filling, and depositing man-made debris and dimension lumber approximately 1,000 square feet in bordering vegetated wetlands, 310 CMR 10.55. Possible alteration of an intermittent stream bank, 310 CMR 10.54, by bridging with lumber and obstructing stream flow approximately 16 linear feet. And that's just my guesstimate of the width of those beams or whatever, all without application or issued permit under local bylaw. The activity has been conducted in an area subject to protection without approval from the issuing authority. Property owners, agents, and permittees, property owner and his agents and permittees shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and/or resource areas. Resource area alterations resulting from said activity shall be corrected and the resource areas returned to their original condition. A restoration plan should be filed with the issuing authority on or before June 24th, 2025 for the following: wetlands delineation and restoration plan for the property prepared by qualified professionals subject to RCC review, shall be prepared to quantify the nature and extent of resource area alterations and impacts. And no further work shall be performed. Property owner shall take the following action: install filter sock, wood mulch, compost, erosion controls at toe of disturbed earth fill to prevent flowed sediments into wetlands. Engage the services of a qualified wetlands professional, subject to RCC review. Impacted resource areas shall be restored. Submit a letter stating intent to comply with the enforcement order by May 30th, 2025. Cease and desist from any further altering, grading, cutting, clearing, and attend what we thought was going to be a remote meeting. May 13th or June 3rd, and Bill's here for May 13th. So that's my request to confirm and ratify said enforcement order dated May 5th, 2025.
Questions? Have a motion then to confirm and ratify the PO as discussed.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, that's Howie Tarian who makes the motion and who seconds, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you shortly.
Okay.
On remote though, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Galasian is here for 45 Stackyard Road. And I have images from the site visit today for the commission to
For
review.
the certificate of compliance.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
We issued a partial certificate with the only thing that was not as per permit was the establishment of vegetative cover in disturbed areas. Oh, give me just a second.
With all this rain, it popped.
Oh,
Finally.
yeah. If that rain- if
Good
it didn't
timing
pop, you
for
got a
once.
problem.
It popped. And finally, now I have to cut it.
Well, some of it.
Yeah, I'd rather leave
Some
it.
of it did, some of it didn't.
I know, it's,
So,
the guy will come back, it's just one of those.
so this is an area where there's, spotty germination. Good germination on the little elevated viewing platform. Not so good germination in a canoe and a pile of cut wood in the center that's in the 25-foot no cut, no disturbance area. Um,
We're gonna put some gravel there.
No, it's a no cut, no disturbance area.
No, in front of the shed.
Oh,
like-
well, in front, that's fine, but the back is what is concerning. This is a view from another direction. It's hardly anything growing out there, but there also should not be a canoe. You also got a trash can out there, but that cut pile of wood, that needs to be removed. That should not be there. This area where the gravel was edged or whatever, I don't know whether that's supposed to be a garden or what, but there's no vegetative cover on that light colored soils that are there. I don't know whether that flowed at some point and just got the seed all washed off it, but
Is that
that.
supposed to be vegetated?
I didn't know that was.
And we got sort of the same area here as you move up towards the street and are looking in from the street. This is in the corridor that goes to where the well is, where the water supply is. That's got some real spotty areas. This is just a different perspective looking up towards where the well was put in place. So as you get into the shade there, the germination is better. And then there's a vehicle in the area, and behind the vehicle, there's stuff. Is that some kind of
Yeah, somebody left
toolbox
it.
from a vehicle, and is that the abandoned car door parts?
Yeah, somebody dropped them and I'm trying to get someone to pick them up.
Okay.
Somebody just dragged them on their street.
Because those are shading and killing any vegetation that was in that area, so if you want to pull them up by the disconnected erosion control sock here or whatever,
Okay, yeah.
my recommendation is not to have them live there for very long because they're causing more
Yeah,
problems.
I can do that and get that out of there, that's easy.
So, in summation, there's a little
Work to
tender
be
loving
done.
care that needs to be applied there, but we're getting closer.
Okay, so, should we expect an update at the next meeting?
Yeah, do you think by June 3rd, do you think you could be giving us, inviting me out there before the June 3rd meeting and giving me a thumbs up on stuff being taken care of? I know you
I
got
think it'll
10.
be worse, to be honest with you, because it's gonna die now with all and the bugs are coming, the greenheads, so I don't wanna be anywhere.
Well, what do you want to do?
Well, I did it twice, I've seeded it twice, I've spent so much money.
No, but come on, let's talk realistically. There's a canoe there, you didn't seed the
Yeah,
canoe.
yeah, the canoe,
The
I
canoe's
know.
not where it's supposed to
I
be.
think some,
The cut wood's not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The trash can's not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You can,
I think the trash can has bird seed in it, that's
Okay.
all.
You
Yeah, I'll
can-
just move all that stuff,
you can,
that's easy.
you can spread some seed in some of those bare areas, and you know what you could also do? You could also buy, some bags of either, peat moss or compost,
Oh,
and
okay.
feather dust that over the grass seed.
Yeah.
So both for moisture retention and for it also to provide an organic
Yeah, that'd be-
component to kind of hold the seed there and provide the seed with some moisture, so.
I didn't know that was an option, I thought it had to be grass, okay.
Well, it does,
It's
there
grass
is
seeds
grass
there,
in there, but
yeah.
I'm just saying, using that organic material, that compost or peat moss,
Sure,
spread out,
it's a good idea.
it'll absorb the moisture, it'll hold the moisture for the grass seed longer and give it a better chance to try and germinate
Sure.
as we start. I mean, it's still May, so this
Yeah.
is still the time of
I
year.
just had the septic in front of the thing sprayed, you didn't take any pictures of that, I had it all done too. So I could have had him spray there, but he said, you already seeded it. Yeah, hydro seeded, Clark just did it a week ago Wednesday.
I mean, that has the same sort of, moisture retention.
Yeah, yeah, the hydro seeding stuff.
Yeah.
They do sell bags of that though, so
They
I
do.
could do it myself.
So you could.
So I could throw it there, that actually would be a good thing, cause that earth is clay.
Yeah.
And I got stuck to it in the fall, and it does not come off. There's a lot of clay over there. So, okay, I'll take care of that, that
Yeah,
can be
well, I'll
done.
be honest that I concentrate more on that interface that's right against the edge of the salt marsh
Okay.
and the wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, in front of the septic system, okay.
Yeah.
Not a
It
problem.
just looks pretty.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's getting there.
It is.
It's a late
It is.
It's a lot, people
I'm
come
not-
by and they stop and they go, this is beautiful
Yeah.
compared to what it was.
I mean, I wasn't being critical when I said it just needs a little more TLC,
I
so.
get it, I can't get, it's hard getting people to help. It's so hard right now. Okay, so yeah, the next meeting, sure, is it June 3rd?
It's June 3rd, or the meeting after that is June 24th.
Okay,
Two months.
yeah, June 3rd, I'm out of town, I won't be here, but the work will be done, so you can put it on the agenda.
All right. Well, just let me know
Okay.
when it's a productive reason for me to go out there and
Perfect,
take a look, so.
okay.
Not that I don't mind going out there, it just,
Would it make sense just to move it to the June 24th? And give you a full,
Yeah, that's fine.
you know what I'm saying? I
we
mean,
can do
rather
that,
than,
sure.
rather than cutting it short.
Yeah, it'll all be done, I like to get things done right away, so I just get it done, it's not a problem.
Gives you like a full
Yeah.
spring season to.
That's easy.
All right, so we'll look for an update by the 24th that all of those things have been taken out, the canoe, the barrel, these things, and that this got some cover at least sprayed or started, and we can have an update and see where we go. See where we go from there.
You know, so in front of that truck is all of, that's my second lot. That has all, yeah, good shot. That's all clay. That wasn't just, that was like that, just, you want me to do that too? More? Or is,
Well, really the side, so I know that there was a trailer
right,
parked there that Mr. Hayes kind of stored there
Yeah.
for a period of time. But I also know that was historic access to get in there to where those abandoned camps or burned camps were
Right.
further in there. So really, if you just take care of the peripheral and
Yeah.
back where the vehicle is and where that stuff is,
okay,
if you just do that, here again, it's location, location, location. This is all up by the road. This isn't right next, this isn't an edge to the salt marsh or the wetlands.
right,
So not that we don't care about it, but it's further away and it's a previously altered area which we know was compacted
yeah.
and had, you know, because it had the traffic on it and the trailer sitting there.
I put that wire across so people wouldn't go down there.
Yeah.
Cause it is, people do like to throw stuff out.
Yeah,
down
well,
there.
they also
It's-
like to find places that like,
Yeah.
yeah,
To drink, party.
do naughty stuff.
Yeah. All right, thank you, folks. We're good for the 24th. I'll have that.
Okay,
All right, thank you so
Sounds
much.
Thanks.
thank you. We need a motion to that effect.
Go ahead.
I move it.
I
I
second.
roll.
All right. Over moves, Witzig seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
So we can.
All right. Everything else on the agenda, I believe, has a request for a continuance. Can I
Yeah,
do this
Well,
all
no,
in one fell swoop?
We do have the other enforcement matter.
Well, that's what I mean, is everything between
Yeah.
8:15 and 9:15.
We have to do the minutes, right?
Yeah, we still have to do the administrative stuff, but everything, normal business, we have.
Sure, if you wanna,
One fell swoop.
you wanna do an all-encompassing continue motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
4
So which ones? Just
4
do the time.
items. The 8:15 item, continued bylaw notice of intent, RCC number 14, 2025 at 195 Weathersfield Street. For 8:30 PM, continued notice of intent at 195 Weathersfield Street. For 8:45 PM, continued stormwater management permit application, S&P number 67, 2025 at 195 Weathersfield Street. For 9 PM, continued abbreviated notice of resource area delineation at 43 and 53 Daniels Road. For 9:15, continued notice of intent, DEP number 630767 at Land off Newbury Road, map 1, parcels 21 and 22. For 9:15 PM, continued stormwater management permit application, SMP number 63, 2024 at Land off Newbury Road, map 1, parcels 21 and 22. All of these, we have received a request for continuance to our next meeting.
I believe so. Give me just a second, I had Debbie write it down. The ANRAD is request to continue to June 24th.
So all of those,
Yeah, the others
except,
are all 6/3, June 3rd.
except the 9 PM continued abbreviated notice of resource area delineation at 43 and 53 Daniels Road. Everything else, a motion to continue to our next meeting of the 3rd. May I have a motion?
So moved.
That's Howie Vogel who moves and Sam who seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to continue our 9 PM, the continued abbreviated notice of resource area delineation at 43 and 53 Daniels Road to the meeting of the 24th. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And
Second.
Sam seconds. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Did you get the ANRAD one?
Yeah,
Yes, I
just
did,
did that.
okay, I just did that, yep.
Okay, so our status reports, jumping back to that. The enforcement order. At 30 Turcot Memorial Drive, or off Vinton's Lane, map 16, parcel lots 1 and 2, Rowley Industrial Acres LLC, Thomas Ford. Demolition of a shed resulting in grading and placement of fill within the BBW and associated buffer zone, approximately 1,300 square feet.
Yes, so so Mr. Ford has already had Mary Rimmer prepare a restoration plan, which I've reviewed. I can't remember whether I forwarded that to people or not. So in the end, they've done the spreading of loam, they've done the spreading of the seed. They started picking up the old concrete block foundation that was off into the woods a little bit there that I requested that they also remove at the same time. I got some photographs sent to me today, some images confirming that that work is underway. And the sock is installed at the bottom of the toe of the slope with the slight graded area. So my request is to confirm and ratify the enforcement order, but things are already underway in terms of restoration
Good to hear. Good to hear.
and cleanup.
Questions? The motion then to confirm and ratify the first.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
We did send out the room.
So, Howard Darian makes the motion, and Witzig seconds, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Just give it a second to tally the votes.
Okay.
Okay, our final status report. Continued notice of non-compliance, OC number 630693 and SMP number 93-2020 at 430 Weathersfield Street, map 12, parcel 3. Rob Nixon doing business as Taylor Lane LLC, lack of Nifty's general permit.
So I'm gonna request that be continued. They submitted some of the stuff for the MPDES permit, but they didn't understand, I think, that I was looking for the actual submitted stormwater pollution prevention plan document and their submittal. So I had, the background on this is that they believed they had done it, they did do it, but they failed to get confirmation of submittal to the EPA.
Mhm.
And so I had a PDF, but I have no hard copies, whatever. So I sent them they sent me the acknowledgement of the filing, which EPA calls a notice of intent for the NPDES permit. So they've got the acknowledgement of their filing from the EPA. So the project is copacetic now in that regards.
Okay.
But I sent them, they sent me totally different stuff, and I sent the PDFs to them, and I said, I need verification, and then if these are in fact what you submitted and what the EPA has now acknowledged, I need hard copies of these two things, the plans and the stormwater pollution plan document.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear from them on that.
Okay.
So it is underway. And they tell me they've also hired Maureen Harold of Norse Environmental to do the monitoring, because that's the other thing. I said you need to do the monitoring reports right away of that wetlands stream crossing, because they did a big replication area behind the post and rail fence there, and it hasn't been looked at. In fact, no monitoring reports. So my understanding, it is underway, but there wasn't anything for them to come and no one to attend the meeting tonight. So I would continue it to the June 3rd meeting.
Okay.
Do you need a motion for it?
Yeah, well, I think so.
To be safe.
Keep,
Have a
well,
motion.
just keep me on track.
So moved.
So I get it back on the next agenda.
Continued. So moved.
So,
Was that Howard Darian, your second?
yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, before we just start the discussion, about the review candidate, yeah, just a couple other things here. Payroll's done, got that out of the way. One set of minutes was circulated electronically ahead of time. Think everybody's received those and had time to review this, okay? There was one revision to the date, I believe, that was issued, okay?
Yeah.
Any further revisions anyone wants to advance? Okay, I have a motion then to accept the minutes of April 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Sam moves, Howard Darian seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Frank Herrick. Like him?
I think he has a lot of potential. I liked what Howard revealed that he had started out as an engineer. Though he changed his career, but I feel like he has the nuggets. I don't know, that's a good word. He has the potential to do it. I feel like it's frustrating. We're not going to get a Brent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And we just, you know,
Excuse me.
how far do we keep pushing that hope that a
I don't-
miracle person's gonna walk in the door?
I think the best we can do is hope that we get someone who wants to learn from Brett. And, excuse me. I'll make a little confession here. I might be a little biased as someone who went to St. John's, went to Salem State, and majored in GIS.
Oh,
Right,
and
is
that's
it-
I think he's got it.
You can resonate with that?
Yeah, it's a nice program that he went through, and I guess that's what
He's local, which I love.
I, yeah.
I just love that. I mean, I think that, you know, he's already got some experience working for a municipality. I think that plays in his favor. He seems eager, you know. I don't think that there's, like I said, I think the most important thing is a willingness to learn, and that he's got that, I think.
And he
He's got
answered the
that
question so nicely, when you put him on the spot, he was very thoughtful and.
Yeah, he's
and
trying to
com-
think through it.
Yeah, and he thought through it quickly too. It wasn't, I would have hemmed and hawed for a while, and he did not.
Well, I mean, I don't think that anybody's gonna be, you know, all aces, and I don't know, I think that, like I said, this is, big shoes to fill, and we actually might be really setting ourselves up really well here. If we get someone who's young and energetic and you know, eager and wants to learn from the best, that person could stay here, you know, and make a good impact, I think.
And that's what we worried about was with the other candidates, that they may not stay. You know, they seem like they might, and he's got housing, he lives here.
Yeah.
That was a real downer for everybody else.
So the flip side to that is, I believe, isn't there like a 90-day probationary period?
Oh, that we can, he comes, he has to, so we can,
Well, I think, you know, the onus is for the commission to insist on him like taking the MACC courses to the maximum extent practical and showing, you
Yes,
know,
yeah,
some progress and stuff. But I'm gonna offer the adjunct to that. What has to go along with that is the commission has got to advocate, if he does engage in learn and develop experience, you're going to have to go to bat for him and get him more pay, because he's going to be sucked away.
Right.
Rowley is not offering enough, and that's why we haven't seen anybody with experience.
Yep. Yep.
You know, because they're not offering enough money. And it might be fine for him for a while, but I think it's got to be a shared experience. What he puts in, the commission is going to have to advocate, because they're not going to do it. The personnel office is not going to do it. The finance committee is not going to do it.
well, we gotta do
You're going to have to go to bat for him.
Understood.
So Brent, this probation thing, can you just, I think I know what it is, but I wanna make sure I do know what it is. So is this, if a person gets a job like this, they have 90 days to quote unquote,
I think you're going to have to talk to the personnel office.
okay. So, and by the way, because that ties into something that he brought up earlier in his last meeting. He goes, when we interviewed him, he's got a good point. This is where we've been kind of lacking. I guess the whole town is lacking on this. We're not doing performance evaluations.
We're not doing a thing for what?
We don't do performance
We do
evaluations.
performance evaluations.
We do.
Well, we haven't done them on a regular basis, and that
Yeah.
has been partially a little, well, no, it's been a lot of my fault, because I haven't reminded you about them.
So all I'm
But-
saying is that what we probably would need to do, if there's a 90-day probationary period, I would volunteer to do this, is get agreement. I'd like some help from somebody.
That's gotta come out of the personnel office.
No, it's not gonna happen.
No, listen. That calendar event should come out of the
Oh, the
personnel
calendar, yeah.
office.
But if it is, whatever, and he brought this up, is He wants to know how he's gonna get measured.
I don't blame him.
Okay.
And I think we've heard that once
And
before.
I think that's a reasonable request. So
Yeah.
if there, and I think honestly, if there is a 90-day, we'll go find out if there is. I think we should, and I'd love some help from somebody. I'm willing to haunch this, is we set up, in the first 90 days, here are the kind of things we would want you to see get done. Okay, and after 90 days, we as a commission should just take a quick, it doesn't have to be arduous, we should review that. And then when that's done, once again, I volunteer, I'd like somebody to help me, is we should set up a 6-month or a year thing that says, hey, in the next 6 months, here's what we would expect to see in terms of growth, okay?
Sure.
And I think we
How do you-
owe it to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. We will have to decide how we're gonna quantify that.
Yeah, we do, but what I'd like to do, but that's why I'd like some help. In other words, I'd do a straw man of saying, hey, here's what it is, and then present it to the commission here and say, hey, guys, does this sound reasonable? Like, hey, this is what we expect.
Those pieces on the straw man have to come from Black.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah, I want him to.
Yeah,
I think-
and I will help you.
I think the first 3 months are easy, right?
That should be pretty easy.
We can be like, you gotta take and pass some of these
Yeah,
courses.
but I'm
6 months, it would be like, well, okay, what after that? You're like,
well, I want to be able to see.
that's gonna depend on.
Can he
things
write-
like,
He's
yeah,
gonna have to be able to write some of the reports
yeah,
that Brent does. He's gonna have to inform us. There's gonna be, and I'm, I don't know what those are right now, but there's gonna be some of that.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to show that he's doing those things.
yeah. The ability to clearly articulate recommendations,
Exactly, you got it.
to read and make similar recommendations that, regarding plan sets that we
Sure.
might receive. Make the same observations that Brent, you've made in the past about spelling out or in regulated wetlands and what have you.
Is there some discussion somewhere about he's going after his master's degree?
Well, we didn't talk about it, but he didn't mention it. I was
I don't think
thinking,
he is.
well, he is.
Yeah.
He's in
Yeah.
the middle of his master's program. And that's what I was wondering, well, have you just abandoned that? And I forgot to ask him. It didn't seem like he was concerned about finishing. Because he's had already had several jobs as he was going to school, it looked like, on his resume.
By the way, you're looking at a person who's abandoned a master's program twice.
Oh.
Because when I was there, well, life changed.
Life
Yeah, no,
changes,
exactly.
and
You
that
know what
might
I'm
be
saying?
what
It
he,
didn't, the benefit
Different
wasn't.
priorities.
Yeah, the benefit wasn't there.
and that could be because he already got a job in GIS.
Yeah, so now you,
And it's just
Yeah,
sort of irrelevant to him.
Well, if we show that we're watching him and he's watching us, and we do things on a timely basis, I think that makes up for some of the master's degree because he wants to excel.
he'll learn more on the job.
But
Oh,
you,
And he will.
Exactly.
He will.
100%.
but I was also thinking, if we're gonna go to personnel, if he's at master's degree, that's something that will be really important to argue in his favor.
Oh,
That-
for
For
if you
a
wanna hit-
raise.
Yes.
If he's got that master's degree, they will be more compelled to say, okay, with all these other people in town who have master's degrees, he is now at that level, and it's simply on paper, despite the fact that he'll have the field experience at that point, but I think it will help him make the argument that, yeah, we have a candidate who has excelled.
Brent, did you have any concerns about this candidate?
Me? Oh, Brett?
I mean, in his ability for you to teach him, to bring him in.
I think most of my concerns at this point in time would be the evaluation of direct interactions
Yeah.
and how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Type of thing.
Agreed.
And that's a TBD.
Well,
We'll
yeah.
see.
So,
That would be the case in all situations.
But Brent, I heard you say the Raleigh's pay level is low. What would you call medium?
You know, unfortunately, I don't know, but there's ways to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes various towns have done competitive surveys. I mean, because conservation agent salaries are public record. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so it isn't that hard to kind of
Yeah,
suss
I just
things out.
wondered if you had I'm not saying a number, but an idea.
I'm the worst person to ask on that.
Okay.
Because I really don't know what's going on in the world out there, and both my wife and I were working when I came
Yeah,
to
yeah.
work here in Raleigh, and I had been unemployed for a while, and I was just so glad to have a job. And even gladder that it had to do with conservation
Yeah.
commission, since
Yeah.
that was already in my wheelhouse, so to speak. So to me, it was the best. And
So
then I also discovered how Raleigh liked to spend money and preserve open space, and I was like, you know.
Two things to that, though, is that, he's obviously coming in green. I don't think he starts at the median,
No.
you know?
Oh, no, they've got them on the roads.
So, depending on the rate of acceleration in his learning,
Yeah.
you know, he could, there's room, there's absolutely room.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna add about the salary, that I don't know if you all went to the, town meeting, you know, it's all listed, everybody's salaries are listed on there, and Brent was like 40,000 less than the library, the surveyor, the highway people, and they're all being paid $90,000. So.
Well, the highway surveyor's elected,
about-
and I couldn't believe that guy raised his hand and put a hold on his, on his line item. What he wanted to ask
Oh,
had
that was so
absolutely
odd.
nothing to do.
That's right, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
But
I
it-
was just astonished that I don't see why they see the Conservation Commission as huge. I thought was a huge disparity, huge.
Well, I think it has developed that, but that's because the incremental increase, if it's not done in looking at the competitive situation of
Yeah,
the
just
salaries
do it.
out there, there's no way that, it's just like Proposition 2.5. It's just why
2.5.
so many cities and towns voted overrides, because it doesn't cover it. So if you just get a 2% cost of living pay increase each year, so just think I've gotten 20 years of those or whatever. I think at one point in time, somewhere, there was some competitive salary survey, and I did get more of a bump than that, but.
yeah, so, okay. We can deal with all of that once we hire.
Once we hire.
Right,
yeah.
That's future.
So,
Yeah.
but for now, I think unless there's some major red flags, I didn't see any, I'm not hearing any. Are we in agreement that we should advance this candidate to the BOS?
Yes.
Yeah. And you need a motion.
We'll have a motion then to advance this candidate to the Board of Selectmen for consideration.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, fantastic.
So, just make sure we can keep the ball moving fast. Who's gonna communicate? I mean, I've been dealing with Rosemary. Do you want me to communicate with her that we made the motion?
Yeah, and I guess Brent's gonna probably have something to do with that as well, I imagine, right?
Do you want me to talk to Rosemary, or you want?
Oh, I think you should talk to those.
Yeah, so I'll talk to Rosemary.
Okay.
I'll be on the road, but I can do it. And, go on the road bright and early. We can, get that, make sure she gets us on the next selectmen's board.
Great.
For approval. And then she can communicate to him, to Frank, what our decision is, and that what the next steps will be.
Can somebody ask him the question about the master's degree? Or should that come later? But I'm just
I
kind of.
think it should.
That's up to him at this point, it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter. I
I
mean,
don't
I think,
I mean, I could try, if I had a reason to talk to him, I
Sort
would
of
kinda, I could,
In a conversation.
I could make it a conversation
Yes.
point, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't.
we do well to encourage him to
All right.
continue to pursue it, but you'll have a better opportunity to do that once he's here.
I think
Yeah.
towards the end here, we gave him an opportunity to address that if he wanted to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up to him, if he doesn't want his masters,
Scorecard for
I
the first 90 days.
can't say I blame him,
We can,
you know.
we'll have to do it. over the
Huh?
phone. We'll have to do it over the phone. But let's see, I think we may have miscommunicated to him because I forgot that in terms of, it's gotta go through the selectmen's board, right? I mean, they'll rubber stamp it, I'm sure, but it has, I don't even know when the next selectmen's meeting is.
Next
I
month.
think they're doing them every Monday. Right?
And you gotta get
just to
on,
know.
so we should
I
have
don't know
time to
what's
get
gonna
on.
happen, depending upon how the vote went today.
So we gotta get on their agenda to make sure that this is.
Yeah,
works.
so it's, but it is what it is.
They usually
Yeah,
put their
so-
agendas together on Thursday morning.
Yeah, so we probably still have time to get that in, okay.
All right, are we good? Is that
Yeah.
everything? Let's see, I think I checked everything. We got everything.
We
All
already
right.
did the payroll. so-
Payroll. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Let's go.
That's a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.